Long, long time ago, in a tiny hut, there lived a fisherman with his wife and a baby girl. He loved his family dearly. Every day he would come back from work, he would play with his daughter, and every time he would look into his daughter's eyes, he would see a spark of intelligence that used to fill his heart with joy. But it would concern him from time to time as well, because he knew that the kind of intelligence he saw in his daughter's eyes needed more to breathe and to grow and to survive than what his tiny hut and the village around it could offer. But there was nothing much he could do about it. So he tried his best to provide a comfortable living to his family and enjoyed his time with them. The girl grew up to be eventually a very beautiful, kind-hearted, intelligent woman that everybody loved in the community. But she preferred her solitude more than anything else. So she used to spend most of her free time sitting by herself. If there was anybody in the village that she was fond of visiting and seeing, it was her uncle. He was a bit of an eccentric man, a bit of a mystic, the village shaman and the healer. But apart from that, she spent many, many long, cold, dark winter nights sitting by herself under a dim yellow candlelight. And she spent many, many, many long, hot summer days under the scorching sun, sitting by herself, contemplating on things that nobody knew anything about. And as she grew a little bit older, perhaps in her late teens, she started waiting for something. Deep down, her heart told her that something big is bound to happen, is supposed to happen. But she didn't quite know what it was. So she was waiting and waiting and waiting. And sure enough, one day, she was sitting in her hut and she heard something moving outside. So she went out to check it out. And there it was, a big, giant, mighty black bear. So she came face to face with the bear, and surprisingly, she didn't get scared. Instead, the two developed a sort of a bond that allowed them to exchange something that's very rare between humans and animal spirits. Nonetheless, that happened. So the bear invited her to hop on its back. She accepted the offer, hopped on it, and the bear started running. It kept running and running and running through the forests, across the rivers, through the valleys, and until one day it came to stop, which looked like its dwelling. By the time they reached there, the bear's home, the season had changed. And so it was winter time for the bear to hibernate. So the bear started preparing its place for hibernation, for a long period of deep, deep sleep. Bear's home was not the usual caves that you would find that bears prefer for this kind of hibernation. It was sort of a tunnel open on both ends. So one end from where they had entered, and the other end, the back of it, was connected to a misty, dark, thick forest. Now, in any case, the bear started blocking off both entrances. It made the place comfortable with hay and leaves and all sorts of other comfortable things to make it cozy. And they, exhausted by their journey, they fell into deep, deep, deep sleep together. But the girl was not used to sleeping for long periods of time, for like the way the bears sleep for hibernation. So after a couple of days, she woke up hungry, not knowing what to do. She poked the bear. She poked the bear, nothing happens. She poked the bear again, nothing happens. And the third time she pokes the bear extends its paws without opening its eyes. It extends its paw over her head and just leaves it hanging there. And as she looks up, she sees that there is an opening in the middle of the paw from which she could see the hot bear fat, the nourishing, satiating hot bear fat that she could suck on. So she fed on it. It comforted her, it satiated her, and she went back to sleep. That kept happening throughout the winter. So every time she would wake up, the bear would move a little bit without opening its eyes. It will extend its paw over her head. She will look it up. There would be an opening, and she would feed on that hot, nourishing bear fat until the season changed and they both woke up at the same time. It was springtime. They stepped out, and this time around, when she felt hungry, the bear offered its paw. She said, "I have had enough of this hot bear fat, no matter how satiating and nourishing it is, but I feel like having some berries now." So the bear went around, because they were good friends by then. The bear went around and it brought back all sorts of berries: blueberries and blackberries and mulberries and strawberries and raspberries. And each one was sweet in its own way, and it had its own unique flavor. So the girl feasted on all sorts of berries, enjoyed it for quite some time until she was fully satisfied. The time went by very quickly, and they were both the bear and the girl were very happy in this symbiotic relationship where they enjoyed each other's company. They were friends and they were living very, very good life. Until one day, from behind the bush, as the girl was out, she saw her uncle peeking from behind the bush. And the uncle says, "Shh, don't say a word, there's a bear in the area." And the girl said, yeah, I know the bear. He's my friend. And so she told him the whole story about the bear and the friendship, and how it offers its hot fat during winter to keep her nourished and satisfied, and berries during springtime when she feels like feasting on berries. And so how they are enjoying each other's company. The bear said, "When you left, the whole village went on search, and so we searched and searched and searched until everybody had lost every hope. But I knew that there will be one last place there where I could look for you. So that's why I came looking for you here. You have no concern. You have no idea how worried we all are for you. And about this business of friendship with bears, that's fine for a season or two, but it cannot go on forever. So you must come with me back to the village." And as they were negotiating that return back to the village, the bear saw that, and it stood between the uncle and the girl. And clearly, the bear did not want the girl to go back to the village. The uncle saw the situation and saw that there was no choice but to accept the challenge of the bear for a duel. So he jumped high in the air with both his legs up in the air, and about 6, 8, 10 feet high from the ground, he jumped up. And as he landed back, he landed on his nose, not on his head, not on his hands, not on the side, on his nose. And as he landed, he also turned into a big, tall, mighty black bear. So now there were two bears facing each other, ready for a fight. As they started fighting, the girl got scared, and so she started running. Before long, she found herself back in the village in front of her hut. And not long after that, the uncle followed. Now the girl didn't know. She never asked her uncle what happened with the other bear. She didn't know whether the fight came to a conclusive end or whether there was some sort of an agreement made between the two. Regardless, they both were back in the village, and the life was back to normal. Everything was exactly the same as before, except that when the girl looked at her feet, she saw that they were not human feet anymore. Instead of her normal feet, she had bear paws. She didn't want anybody to know about it, so she did a good job of hiding it from everybody forever. She sort of always used to keep the socks on, and the shoes tied on her feet and all that, and nobody knew about this change. But apart from that, everything was exactly the same. Life went on until one time there was a drought. There was a drought in the village, and there was nothing left for people to live on. And as the girl saw this situation, she was also suffering along with everybody else. She suddenly remembered that instead of her regular human feet, she has bear paws. And she remembered how the bear paws gave her the nourishment and the sustenance to go on during long winter nights when they were hibernating in the cave. So one night she took the socks off. She carefully looked under her feet or under her paws. And under each one of them, there was an opening big enough that could produce the hot bear fat, enough for the whole village to survive. So throughout that season, every night, she would just sit at night and pull out and draw that hot bear, nourishing, satiating bear fat all night long. And during the day, she would give it away to the village folks. That's how they survived until the next year. The crop was plenty, and everybody lived happily ever after. That's the end of the story. I wonder, what do we do with this story? And I was just debating if we should break the cardinal rule of storytelling and start making sense of it. Because after all, the stories, if they had spirit, they would probably make a great deal of an effort to transfer themselves from generation to generation, from one heart to another heart to another heart to another heart for thousands of years, until they make their way to our ears and then finally into our chest. And I think when they make that kind of a great deal to make sure that they reach us, they want us to pause a little bit, to take a walk with them, with the story. They want us to take some time out, sit with them, incubate them within us before they start talking to us. So as I think about this story, as I took a walk with this story, as I sat down with this story, as I incubated it for a little bit within me, I wondered what it was about. And I don't know what you think about it, but I think the story perhaps is about encounter with the wild spirit. The girl is waiting and waiting and waiting for something big to happen because her heart tells her that something is going to happen. And when it happens, it's an encounter. And it's an encounter that could be very scary, with the big black bear from the wild spirit, the untamed. And so the choice is, we can go back to the comfort of your hut and the safety of your hut, or you could take the invitation and you can hop on the bear's back, not knowing exactly where it's going to take you. One never knows where it's going to take you. But if the longing and if that conviction that this something big is supposed to happen is strong enough, then we take the invitation. We hop on the bear's back without any guarantees, without any confirmations of where it's going to take us. And I think it takes us, if we take that invitation, it takes us into that bear cave, the deep, 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 farthest recesses of our own consciousness, or perhaps even beyond that. So far down that at that level, maybe it's connected with something even deeper, that thick, black, misty forest, which, call it universal consciousness or whatever you fancy, but are we capable of that connection or not? I don't know. But the point really was, for me at least, taking that invitation when that encounter happens, having that courage, and then sitting with it, sitting with it for some time, allowing it to transform us, to change us in ways that we would probably never imagine until it happens. But what I've also found interesting in this story was that as we are hibernating with it and allowing it to do its work, transform us and change us, there has to be some connection to bring us back to the village, to the community, to the regular life. And in this case, it was that connection with that healer, with that wise man, with that teacher. So that bond is going to bring us back if that teacher, that wise man, that healer has the wisdom to know where to find and knows the terrain of that of that land where the girl was found. But if everything goes fine, the transformation does happen. We accept the invitation, we sit with it, we have the courage to go on that journey with it, and we come back, we accept the offer back again the second time around from that wise man, from that teacher, and And I think then there is some benefit, there is something that we bring back that would provide the sustenance, the nourishment, not only for us, but for everybody else in the village when there is a drought, when there's a drought of creativity, when there's a drought of kindness, when there's a drought of compassion and empathy, when everything is very cold and calculated and just rational, and there is not enough art and love and friendship and inclusiveness left in the world. It feels like a very dry, unlivable place. That's when we draw into that source of nourishment, of sustenance of a different kind, and that could get us going, keep us going for some time, until each one of us perhaps finds that source on our own. Do let me know what you think.